Good morning. I was thinking this morning about Ahimsa, which in the 8 rungs of yoga, rung 1 is the yamas. There's 5 yamas, and Ahimsa is the first yama. It usually is translated as nonviolence. It rests on the foundation that the 8 rungs are introduced by Patanjali in Yoga Sutras near the end of chapter 2, which is on sadhana, on practices. But it rests on the foundation of Sutra 2 of chapter 1, which defines yoga as yogaschita vritti nirodha. And nirodha means approximately, loosely stated, letting go. The idea is let go of everything that I'm not, and what's left is who I am, called self-realization. And also in that beginning foundation is the twin foundation of abhyasa and vairagya, in particular vairagya, non-attachment. So these are foundation principles. Then when we come into the chapter on sadhana, the principles of the 8 rungs, then the first foundation principle there is ahimsa. So it has something to do with non-attachment, but it's a particular aspect of it. Now, when most of us talk about non-violence, and you think about violent things going on in our world and in our local communities, and what we see in the media, and what we see portrayed in things like movies and all. We look at that, and most of the people, I've actually done this experiment with a group of people in a room, and say, raise your hand if you really think that you're a violent person, and nobody will raise their hand, because we're not running around doing really mean, cruel, rotten, nasty things. So we can accidentally overlook the subtlety of ahimsa, because we look at that and we say, well, check mark, I've got that one pretty well under control. I'm not going to go rob a bank this morning. I'm not going to go take a stick or a knife or a gun and go hurt anybody. Therefore, I'm not violent. But there's a subtlety in this word himsa. When you say ahimsa, ah means not or without himsa. So what is himsa? In one sense, we could say himsa is violence or harming or something like that. But the subtler meaning of the word himsa is simply pushing against. So when we say I'm going to practice non-attachment, when I am doing the opposite of that, when I'm doing attachment, what is it that I'm doing? I'm doing this. I'm pulling it towards me, or I'm pushing it away. And so there's this pushing phenomenon, or resisting. And the thing that I was pondering about today that I want to suggest to you is maybe spend some time observing the subtleties of the way in which ahimsa is practiced or can be practiced, and the way himsa, the pushing, just so easy, so naturally occurs. When one starts practicing meditation, what is it that almost everybody says about the thoughts and emotions, the stuff coming up in the mind? You sit down, you just want to be quiet, have a nice meditation, and what comes up? All these thoughts in the mind. What is it that we all normally want to say? Oh, please, how do I get rid of these thoughts? Well, notice carefully what we're saying when we feel that way. What we're really saying is, I want to push them away. It's very subtle. We don't know that we're doing that. When we learn to practice smooth diaphragmatic breathing, what are we doing with our inhalation and our exhalation? We're doing it without aggression. We're not pushing. We're doing ahimsa even with our breathing. And notice how easy it is to forget that. And just simply with simple breath awareness and diaphragmatic breathing. And notice what happens if you soften your exertion into inhalation and exhalation. We can easily do things like this. We can just in the stress of activities of the day, and then when you have a few minutes, just you pause. You realize, wait a minute, I'm pushing in my exhalation. I'm pushing. I'm exerting in my inhalation. And let me just take a few breaths here, just a few breaths where I suspend that pushing. And very, very softly, as if with no exertion, no pushing, no ahimsa whatsoever, the air just kind of gently drifts in and it gently drifts out. No ahimsa, no pushing, no exertion. And if I do that, what is it that I'm attempting to do with my mind? I'm attempting to remember the stillness and silence, the consciousness itself that is back here behind all the noise and activity of the mind. Well, I don't get there by pushing away the thoughts. That's ahimsa. It may not be harming like picking up a stick and going and beating somebody over the head with it, but it is ahimsa. It's pushing against. So the practice of ahimsa applies to the thoughts that are going on in our mind field. It has to do with the way in which we breathe, and it just gets subtler and subtler and subtler. Surely we want to observe the way we behave in our interactions with other people, with family members, particularly starting with family members. Notice how easy it is to have a bad day, get a little stressed out, and accidentally take it out on somebody in the family. Yes, those aspects of ahimsa and ahimsa are definitely there. But look for the subtler. Practice it with breath. I'm going to not push. And with the thoughts that are in the mind field, I'm not going to push them away. I'm not going to force my way into silence. I'm going to be silent now, still and silent. All the books in yogi say be still and silent. I'm going to be still. Now I'm still. Look at what my body's doing. I'm forcing myself to be still. And I'm going to force my mind to shut up, mind. You can feel it, can't you? Just we accidentally do, like maybe not as extreme as I just animated, but we can accidentally do that. We can be forcing our body, and we can be forcing our breath, and we can be forcing our mind. Don't force your body, don't force your breath, don't force your mind. And that cessation of forcing or pushing is called ahimsa. Play with it a little bit. Give it a day. Play with it today from time to time, and watch the magic. It's a wonderful thing. It's a subtlety of ahimsa. So enjoy, okay? And remember, Om. Om is where it's at. Om is what's happening. No pushing with Om. Very, very gently. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Om. Om. Thank you for playing and visiting. Bye-bye.